Pika, what was up with that? We fell down a rabbit hole. And it's still tracksuit week? Oh, the Boston Marathon was yesterday. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? Well, you don't tell me. What? Oh, you did write it down. It's in the show notes that Pika writes. I get it. My bad. Sorry, boss. Jeez. It's hard Pika to please sometimes, you know? How you doing? Welcome back once again. It's time for the Comics Coffee Table. Pull up a chair. Grab a cuppa. Whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today. Leave your problems over there. Join us. We're taking a break from the world's problems just for a couple of minutes in a day. What are we doing with our spare time, this break time? We're talking about comic books. Why? Because I love comic books. You do too. That's what brings us together. Just rambling and talking about art, sequential art, floppies, covers, artists, writers, superheroes, stories, story arcs. You figured it out. We can go on and on and on. 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily. We go on and on and on. So hit that subscribe button if you could be so kind. Turn on those notifications. Ring that bell. You know, join us. There's room here at our coffee table. The coffee table was where my friends and I would congregate. We would shoot the breeze. There would always be a stack of movies, a stack of music, a stack of books, and always a stack of comic books too. And good times and good conversation. So that's what we do here. We have the comic book shop style conversation with each other here daily at our comics coffee table. That's right. And I'm really blessed and grateful for everyone that shows up. It's good to see these new faces in the chat. If I can make the 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily live chat premiere, I will be there. Sometimes I'm late. A lot of the times lately I'm stuck on the MBTA, the Massachusetts Bay Transit Association subway system. And it's like, you know, sometimes you get good Wi-Fi. Sometimes you realize, I'm 2 minutes behind. There's a lag. What am I talking about? What are they talking about? Also, leave some comments in the comments section. It's good to see them too. That is continuing the comic book shop style conversation. I'm big on getting back to my local comic book shop. So I am making an effort to not just go there on new release Wednesdays regularly now, because there's such a joy in that. I'm a lifelong comic book fan. You know, I remember getting the first direct market, the comic book shop, the first ones. They were all around. I remember Million Year Picnic peripherally as a kid. I mean, we didn't go to Harvard Square much, but we went to Downtown Crossing in downtown Boston all the time, the corner of Winter and Washington Streets. I mean, there was a real comic book shop on the second floor in the corner of Winter and Washington. And I've talked about it a few times. Comic Book Superhero Universe 3. Eventually it moved around the corner to West Street. The friends of my fellowship will know that West Street is where Fajitas and Rita's is located. That's one of our local pre-movie haunts where we know we can get a big table and we all enjoy the food and the drink and the service and each other's company. Again, another table. Yeah, I mean, and I will be hitting the Boston Wicked Comic Con this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to try to be there all day. Saturday specifically, I'll drink beer on Saturday. I'm not going to drink beer on Sunday because Monday is a work day. I don't drink on, work nights. Maybe I can have a beer with lunch, but Saturday, if you find me, Perch is right. I'll buy you a beer. Let's go to Bukowski's, and I'm going to get some chili dogs there for lunch. And who's ever around, let me know. I'll buy you a beer. Come over to, if you're a creator, if you're just another fan, just getting, anyone. Hey, Billy Tucci, can I buy you lunch? Humberto Ramos, ¿quiere comer conmigo? Come on, man. I got the good stuff. I know where the good food is. But, yeah, so this weekend, Boston Wicked Comic Con at the Heinz Convention Center. Yeah, near Massachusetts Avenue and Boylston Street. Right around there, yeah. So, but going back to my local comic book shop, I'm getting my supplies there. Yeah, so I'm picking up my boxes, my bags, and my boards. Hello. Acid-free boards. Glazed on one side like a donut. Oh, sometimes a donut can be completely glazed. You got me there. It's not... Donuts and backing boards are not... That wasn't a very good comparison. It wasn't... No, yeah. Thanks. That's what I get for making my own material up and not sticking to the script. Great. Thanks. Got anything else to say in front of everyone? Pre-recorded live before a studio audience of my stuffed animals from our Boston studios. Look at that guy up there. That's the Canadian bear. Our studio audience. Ain't that cool? Awesome. Let's get to it. We started talking about Booster Gold yesterday. This would be Booster Gold Volume 2, issue number 1. Which is different than Booster Gold Volume 1, issue number 1. Which, at a 9.2, according to the book, it's worth about $85 because it's the first appearance of Booster Gold. Booster Gold has the distinction of being DC's first major superhero introduced after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. You guessed it. I'm reading this from the Wiki. That's right. Okay, let's look at who is Booster Gold, by the way. Who is this guy? All right, he just appears like 1980. When was his... Let's see here. We got the Wiki. We've got the DC database, and we got dc.fandom, which is a great resource. dc.fandom.com/wiki/ Booster Gold Volume 1. That's my wiki is ATST. It's a Rich Evans reference. I love Red Letter Media. Booster Gold Volume 1, number 1 is a cover date of February of 1986. So it was probably on the shelf at Superhero Universe 3, November of 1985. I was turning 13 years old. I remember that. I got an earring, my first earring for... My mom got my ear pierced. She's cool, Mom. Thanks, Mom. My poor grandfather my poor Irish grandfather, he had a bird. Maureen, don't you know? Relax, Dad. It's hip. It made him happy. He's right, yeah. So yeah, that was... I remember that being on the shelf. It was a 75-cent DC comic book, and I don't remember picking it up. No, but I do remember a year later getting Justice League Volume 1, number 1, by Kevin Maguire and written by J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen. And inks by Terry Austin, too. Yes, please. Where did it go? And that was my first real exposure to Booster Gold. The 87 Justice League. Yeah, and I'm 14 years old, and I'm about... would be my second distinct phase into comic books. It would be like my middle school to high school years. Before that, any comic books I had were thrown out because I wasn't paying attention in school. It was a yeah, that was that. My mom threw out all my comic books. Don't we all have a story like that? We all do. It's not like it's our, my mom said like, oh, like, she got really into like Beanie Babies and in the 90s and in aughts and in that speculator, explosion. So she sees like, oh, wow, those could have been worth something. Well, probably not, because I read those and read those and read those. That they were threadbare and worn down and just, they were well loved and well read. But all the same, just so, yeah, my first comic book accumulation, it was all thrown out on one Wednesday, a garbage day. I remember all the neighborhood kids picking through my comics. I remember I was so sad. Oh, I was just, but, I wasn't paying attention in school. Eventually, along the way, I started buying comic books again, or was allowed to buy comic books again, if that's perhaps a better phrase. I earned the right to have them back in my life. Time had passed. Enough time had passed. And but I was there for Justice League, and also a lot of Batman going on too, from like 87 to 89. I mean, just it was a great time to be a Batman fan. It really was. You had Batman Year One. You also had Dark Knight Returns come out. You had Lonely Place of Dying. Well, before that, you had Death in the Family, and then we have the introduction of Tim Drake, and then that's even the Copper Age. Copper Age Batman is good, and this is primo Copper Age Batman, being the leader of a Justice League team without Wonder Woman and without Superman. So instead of Superman, they got Captain Marvel. And their Green Lantern is the taciturn Guy Gardner, who they have an interesting love, maybe a hate-hate relationship. And it's the famous Batman punches out Guy Gardner. And then Guy is looking for he takes his ring off, said, okay, I've had enough of you, and Batman, boom, right in the kisser, knocks Guy out. And then Guy's looking for his ring underneath the computer deck, and he hits his head again, and he concusses himself, knocks himself out again. When he wakes up, it's a wrestling thing. It's about kayfabe, and it's about your character and keeping character. Guy Gardner switches from heel into a baby face and becomes someone emotionally and socially like Captain Marvel, like very likable, very agreeable, and very a nice guy, which is the opposite of Guy Gardner's rough and grumble, alpha male kind of, who he really is. And it was a really nice, that's what they call, like the heel flip, or the, maybe I'm getting the terminology wrong. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan. I ditched wrestling when Hogan went Hollywood. And that should tell you everything you need to know about, whoa, that guy is like 30 years away from anything. But yeah, it was just, he was turned a heel into a baby face for a long enough time that it was really valuable. He meets the love of his life, the superhero known as Ice, and while he's a nice guy, so there's always going to be a part of him that's that nice guy that Tora falls in love with, But like, who is this guy? This literal Guy Gardner. That where's my boyfriend? That kind of, that's these great melodramatic beats. But who is Booster Gold? See, my introduction to Booster Gold was was here in the pages of Justice League. I think at the end of issue 2, was it? And this is Maxwell Lord. He's the financial backer of the Justice League, and it was the 80s, and who is Maxwell Lord based upon? Well, it could be an earlier version of the 45th President of the United States, which was lampooned, like a kind of this reverse meta-engineered lampooning with Pedro Pascal's performance of Maxwell Lord in Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 1984. We have come full circle, Maxwell Lord, have we not? But Maxwell Lord, being the financial backer of the team, has a say. So he puts in he installs the new Dr. Light and Booster Gold into the team. And this begins the famous Booster Gold and Blue Beetle bromance. This is really legendary friendship between they called it the blue and the gold. Booster Gold and the Wahaha years. They were the comic relief. It was so fun, and it had great action. These Justice Leagues. But Booster Gold, yeah, hello. Who is Booster Gold? Are you wondering that? His name's Michael John Carter. He was born poor in 25th century Gotham City. He and his younger twin sister Michelle never knew their father because I'm reading this from the wiki. This is true. Him and his twin sister Michelle, we'll meet her down the line. The true hero of the family, one could say, never knew their father because he left after gambling away all their money. Michael was a gifted athlete, attending Gotham University on a football scholarship. At Gotham U, Michael was the star quarterback until his father re-enters his life, convinced him to deliberately lose games for gambling purposes. He was exposed, disgraced, and expelled. Later, he was able to secure a job as a night watchman at the Metropolis Space Museum, where he studied displays about superheroes, villains from the past. Superheroes and villains from the past, particularly the 20th, or we could say the 21st century. Michael's sidekick is a little robot named Skeets. He's a 25th century security robot, sometimes valet unit with artificial intelligence. He is capable of flight, cognition, and voice projection, all which are considered highly advanced for 21st century Earth. He also has historical records, which gives him a vast knowledge of what will happen between the 21st and 25th century. But with him going into the past to live as a superhero, what does that do to the timeline? Does he change things? Does he change his own destiny? This is like, this is not the show to talk about time travel. It's too much. I don't want to get into that. I have great time travel stories that I love, particularly Primer. This low budget sci-fi, wonderful sci-fi movie that it has no special effects in it. It's just it's all character and dialogue and story driven, and it's amazing. You get Primer. It's about time travel and about what you would do, and are there really two of you now? And because you went to the past, and so what happens to your double? Interesting questions. If you even believe that time travel is possible, this is a good one. So, Skeets is apparently immune to reality and temporal manipulations. So Skeets is going to be the one that, hey, we have a paradox going on here. There's a divergence, in timelines. With the help of Skeets, Michael stole devices from the museum displays, including a Legion of Superheroes flight ring and a Brainiac 5 force field belt, which is kind of funny because these things aren't invented until the 31st century, yet they're artifacts in Superboy's collection of stuff. This would be stuff probably in the Fortress of Solitude that made it out onto into a museum, perhaps. But there's a paradox in itself. How does Booster Gold have a force field and achieve flight? Well, he's got a legion of He's got a long live the Legion. He's got a Legion flight ring. So do I. Where's my Legion flight ring? Long live the Legion. Now I can fly. And this gives me a molecule-thick atmosphere that I can survive in space, too. This was not designed by Brainiac 5. This was designed by Mon-El, the Daxamite, who became part of Superman's foster family in the future. Because Daxamites have a genetic ancestry similar to Kryptonians, where they settled on a different planet. Therefore, they have Superman like powers and weaknesses as well. Mon-El is lethally allergic to lead. He was poisoned by lead, and so Superman put him into the negative zone, where he usually puts criminals. But Mon-El wouldn't age and wouldn't really have a body that would be dying. He would stay in a stasis until they could figure out a way to cure him. I love superhero stuff, man. I love DC stories. So with the help of Skeets, Michael John Carter stole devices from the Metropolis Space Museum, including a Legion flight ring that would not be produced for 500 more years, and Brainiac 5's force field bit. Not Brainiac 3. We're talking about Brainiac 5. That's the Superman's friend he's from the planet Kolu, and he's he's the brains of the Legion of Superheroes, and also the love of Kara Zor-El's Supergirl's life, I believe, who she's like kind of meant to be with. He uses Rip Hunter's time sphere. Rip Hunter is one of the time traveling superheroes. He first appeared in Showcase number 20, and he goes back. Yeah, he's like Silver Age, and he has a time bubble, and his headquarters is a place called Vanishing Point. It's this little island at the end of time. Yes. Yeah. Rip Hunter's time sphere also on display in the museum. So he uses it to travel to the 20th century, intent on being a superhero and forming a corporation based around himself to make a comfortable living. He is a shameless self-promoter whose obsession with fame and wealth irritates other heroes. It's great. And Carter's nickname as a football player was Booster, but his chosen 20th century superhero name was Gold Star. After saving the president, Carter mangled the two names, causing President Reagan to introduce him as Booster Gold. The name stuck. It's a running joke throughout the DC. People erroneously call him Buster to his chagrin. And it's great, too, because during 52, there's so he's leading a dual life. He's pretending to be a new superhero named Supernova, because there's an absence of Superman right now. Superman is depleted his powers. He just won against Superboy Prime at the expense of Earth 2 Superman's life and flying through the red sun of Krypton, Rao, to depower them all, and just so he lost his powers for a whole year. But Booster Gold shows up in 52, and his outfit is covered in sponsors, like sponsorship logos of the fictional stuff that like Soda Cola and this and that, maybe like Big Belly Burger, like the DC Universe brand names, and it's really cool. And so yeah, that's our crash course on Booster Gold, and it's like part of his. And part of his heroic destiny is that no one's ever going to know what he did to save the world because of time and time travel, that no one's ever going to know that it was he actually stepped up and became the superhero that he was supposed to be. Actually, one of my favorite, and I love the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle story notes, a really nice one with all the feels, in the alternate universe known as Injustice, where Joker kills Lois Lane, pregnant Lois Lane, and Superman snaps and becomes a tyrant, versus Injustice. It's a whole thing. It's like Batman versus Superman all over again. Now we got two leagues both full of villains and heroes fighting each other, and but it became a really successful comic series. I think in Injustice Volume 5, not written by Tom Taylor, Booster shows up to Ted Kord's house and like, come on, it's time. He's like, what? He's like, I told you I'd be here when it happened. Suit up, they're coming for you. And so there's Ted. He's out of shape, and he suits up as Blue Beetle this one last time, and he gets picked up by the secret police or some thugs, and he's thrown into a dungeon with some other hapless victims. And Booster shows up. He's like, well, Ted, it's time, and I told you I'd be here for you, and Ted dies, and he gets murdered again, and there's and Booster just and that was a very touching scene. This genuine melodrama of like these bros, these friends, and it's a nice dynamic, and I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of that. I also wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about this issue here, this 1995 single. Okay, so we have the trade dress up here. It's called Underworld Unleashed, and that was the line-wide event. Now we talk about events all the time in modern comics. They're part and parcel with these huge superheroes. These are the crossovers, and events do sell. I mean, maybe it's FOMO, fear of missing out, of not getting like all of them. But the Underworld Unleashed crossover event of 1995 took like C and Z list villains that were offered a deal to have. I think it's Necron and this guy from Hell, and he sells failure. He sells upgrades to villains at the cost of their soul. Exactly. And so by the end of it, all the heroes have to team up not only to save the day, but to unleash the souls of those damned. And this is great. This is Chuck Dixon wrote so many good Batman and Robin stories. Aaron Lopresti, great comic book artist, pencils. Stan Walk on inks, Adrian Roy on colors, edited by Denny O'Neil. And but yeah, here's the that's Killer Moth, and he's a failure, and he's in jail, and he's been given a deal by the devil to get his freedom, but also get an upgrade. And you also become transmogrified, and you lose part of your humanity, and you become like the totem that you've been dressing as. You become more animalistic. You lose a chunk of your humanity. This is a nice, tender, melodramatic moment. Come on, this is written by Chuck Dixon, who writes boys comics. These were always the melodramatic story notes that pull together these action sequences, and they're in the background. Teen romance. All right, this is our 14, maybe 15-year-old teenage superhero, Tim Drake, the third Robin, in his brand new outfit. And there's his girlfriend's moving away. Aw, I guess I love her. I'm not saying anything, am I? We're just looking at an old comic book. But guess what? The property was bought by someone unexpected, an old friend of ours. And then, young love. The whole block was sold to Wayne Investments, and they're financing a free enterprise zone. Yes. And you get to stay in Austin. My rich stepdad, my rich adoptive father. Tim Drake's dad's not dead yet. That comes in Identity Crisis in 2004. And after that, Bruce Wayne legally adopts Tim Drake as his son. But I'm just loving the ads. Look at that. It's 1995. This is an ad for Mallrats. Mallrats was one of the first superhero movies. I'm going to say that. It had Stan Lee. It began the Stan Lee cameos. It was foolish. It had... it was about comic books and superheroes. Can you see the sailboat? It's 3D holographic posters. There's just mall culture. What's a mall now, huh? See, that's why it's important to go to our local comic book shops, because like the mall, like something like the mall, like record stores, toy stores, you know, where do they go? Do they come back? You know, I mean, if we lose our local comic book shops, it's just, you know, so look at the video game ads. I love the video game ads. Spawn was relatively new. Spawn was only a couple of years old. And let's look at the back cover too. A Pocket Tiger game. And this is for the Batman Batman Forever. Yeah, so this is Batman and Robin versus Riddler and Two-Face for the Schumacher movie. And and look at this. Robin's in a sticky situation, which was advertised on the cover. So the cover takes place inside the funny book. Ain't that cool? But I'm loving this art. Remember, Tim had his own Robin car. This is great. But you know, he's a kid. He's learning. He gets beat, and he comes back from it with resilience, knowledge, more experience, and stronger. Look at that Game Boy. Street Fighter 2 for the Game Boy. Oh! Look at all these video game ads. Who are these things marketed to? Who are we selling this to? Yeah. We had people talking over lunch then. They were just very few and far between. They weren't pages of it. We had one page of melodrama, you know? Tim at high school. It was great. Who is this written for? Let's see. This is a $1.95 comic book. Comic Code of Authority, Seal of Approval. Wow. This is fun. I mean, this is going on my spinner rack. This really is. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books. We talk about spirituality and gratitude. We talk about cooking a lot too. I'm a professional chef. I got hacks. I got a playlist for you. Just click on the playlist and have at and just enjoy yourself and share some photos of whatever it is you're cooking. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.